Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. This is your NXT Takeover 36 Power Hour. I am Jordan, as always, joined by my good friend Luke. We are both massive wrestling fans. If you have not seen us before, we cover AEW and NXT every week,
we've covered a lot this week,
as well as WWE pay-per-views along the way as well, because their pay-per-views, generally speaking, are still quite good. However, the last one we did, which should be up on the channel before you're seeing this, was SummerSlam, and we have some interesting things to say about that one, so go and check that video out. However, as I said, today we are here to talk about NXT Takeover, and this was a completely different story, right, Luke?
Very much so. Very much so. Let's just jump into it and we'll go through it. So, once again, didn't watch the pre-show because it just wasn't on the. Weirdly, I would have thought they would have put it on the network.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I would have thought they would have started it because I play from beginning and it just goes to doesn't matter. First, we had the $1 Million Championship. Very clever match to put up first. LA Knight, who was of course
it's a clever match because it was one of those matches that was almost guaranteed to be good in the ring. So the story around it, I don't think mattered as much.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually, like you said, a clever match to go for.
And he was facing Cameron Grimes with Ted DiBiase at his side. And Cameron Grimes did pick up the win against...
And I didn't expect this one. I thought he was going to lose.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I hope, because I really like LA Knight. Like, he's like The Rock and Stone Cold reincarnated into one person. It's so weird watching him wrestle. Because it's like I'm watching The Rock back 20 years ago. It's really odd.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But this was a good match. It was it was covered in story. DiBiase was constantly in the middle of things. There was a nice bit where he hit both him and Cameron Grimes put the $1 Million Dream in. Separately, obviously, not at the same time on him. But no, overall, I really like this match. I thought it was a very good way to open the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I think it was a smart one to put out first because people are invested in Cameron Grimes. People love Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's one of those that doesn't quite click with me, but it clicks enough, and I love him in the ring. But I just... character-wise, it doesn't quite interest me.
Fair enough.
I just think I see where they're going with it, and I think it's that thing of, in my head, there's a more interesting direction they could go, and therefore, I'm just not that invested.
I do wonder if LA Knight will be this generation of NXT's Bobby Roode.
Yeah, maybe.
I fully expect that he will be because he's so good. He's undeniably good. It would be a bit of a shock.
For sure, it's like when he jumped up. It's like when he jumped up to the top rope and did that moonsault. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. Oh, he's done that for ages. Like he's like I said, he's a weird combination of Rock, Steve Austin, and his own. Bits of high flying.
I mean, and it probably doesn't help him that he literally sounds like The Rock sometimes.
Yeah, genuinely, so Cultaholic just call him The Rock at the moment when they're doing podcasts. He is just the modern. Well. I genuinely think he might be the most charismatic wrestler around today.
Yeah,
because he is fantastic. I love him, and I would love to see him. I do think this is one of those where he'll move on and elevate, whether it's to the North American title. I honestly, I would have liked to see these two team up. I think it could be a fun tag team that they have. But I fully expect that Knight is just going to move on up now.
Yeah, maybe. What did we have next?
So next we had the NXT Women's Championship, Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota Kai, and surprisingly, Gonzalez won.
Yeah, I
fully
expecting
expected
this. Yeah,
Kai to win, but however, it does make sense. I do still think it might be the wrong decision because Kai is better in the ring. She's more interesting as a character.
for sure. But then maybe it is one of those situations where they go, no, we want the belt on a specific person.
Yeah.
So because it does seem that way, right? Like with what happened.
No, for sure. This was the first of a few times where the crowd, a very, a smarky crowd, were like, nah, wrong decision. Like it happened a couple of times. It was really odd. Like the guy who was supposed to be over isn't the one that's over. People love Dakota Kai, and I'm so happy about that because I've been a big fan of hers for a long time, even when she was like super babyface against Shayna Baszler and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've always had a thing for her. I thought she was very, very good. And it's just so good to see her like living up to that, because so many times we'll see like Dolph Ziggler. Never
definitely
really lived up to it.
Definitely.
But I thought this was a good match. I think Kai looked great. I think Kai made Gonzalez look incredible.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with that.
With some of her flexibility and movability. I think it was very clever how they know each other so well, sort of thing. And they used that and they told a story with that, and that made this match very interesting and very good, I think, on the whole. But at the end, after Gonzalez is posing with her title, Kaylee Ray arrives from NXT UK, and people were like, ooh.
Yeah.
It took a minute for people to realize who it was. But when they did, they started chanting her name. They were like, oh, this is going to be cool. Because Kaylee Ray, she's sick. She's great. So it's going to be very interesting. I fully suspect maybe she wins when they actually do this. Because Kaylee Ray is, like, she was, I think she's the longest reigning
and
UK
also this
women's
is
champ.
Yeah, I think so. But also, this is one of those things that actually plays into what we were saying yesterday about when we were recording our SummerSlam video, about how it has to make sense, but sometimes surprises can still make sense. And if they bring her in and she is the one to win, it kind of makes sense because she has that backstory of being the UK champion, and all that. So it makes her more legitimate, right?
Just like Ripley did before. It's one of those as well. It also makes sense because Gonzalez has beaten everybody. I guess the only person she hasn't was either like Indy or Candice. But you're not going to beat Candice because she's pregnant, so she's not going to be wrestling.
And Indy's doing her own thing right now.
And Indy's in another storyline. So having someone, it's not like you're
the only other way to have done it would have been if you bring someone down from main roster, but then you're not going to want a main roster person necessarily.
Well, it depends
as your
if they're going to stay
Women's
there.
Champion.
Well, I don't know, because they did it with Balor, didn't they?
That's true.
Even though that wasn't the plan, that just became the plan after a while once Cross got injured. But overall, I thought this was a good match.
I agree.
I like the package at the beginning. Was
two
very
good matches in a row. What the hell's going on? SummerSlam couldn't even manage this.
NXT. Like, I feel like the crowd was super loud when they were shouting that this time. Because it sounds like in the next few weeks, big changes are coming.
They do, but it's also one of these things where this crowd did make me think NXT needs bigger crowds again for these takeovers, at least, because they deserve it. They deserve it.
100%. I was a bit shocked that they were only in the CWC.
Well, they almost moved it to Vegas, according to reports. Like, it was considered, but it was considered very last minute, and it was like, no, just do it anyway.
Yeah, it should have been. Like, just call it Takeover in Las Vegas.
If you're gonna have 50,000 fans at SummerSlam, what's the difference of having one more event?
And to
in
be,
that same place.
let's be honest, 50,000 disappointed fans at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Give them a takeover that they can get their teeth into, and talking about getting your teeth into. NXT UK title match, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov.
This was more getting your teeth kicked in, but
boy, was this was exceptional.
Yeah.
It started off slow, they were feeling each other out, and then they just leathered the absolute shit out of each other. It was fantastic.
It felt like they were actually hurting each other. Like,
I mean, look at Ilya's chest. They fucking were. They were properly good. Like, Ilya is a machine.
Yeah.
I like the finish.
Yeah.
Where he puts in Walter's own fucking sleeper, and he fucking tapped out Walter. He didn't just pin him.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't just win by fluke. He tapped him out.
The one thing I was thinking, like, immediately after this match, though, is where the fuck do they go with Walter now?
I don't know.
Because the thing is, Walter was the guy in terms of NXT UK, right? He was.
I mean, yeah.
He
870 days.
He was the one NXT UK guy that I feel like every WWE fan knew or had heard of. And I just, once you defeat the monster, where do you go with the monster from there? Because, I'm sure he'll get a rematch, because I think these guys have got too much chemistry for that not to happen again. Yeah, this match was exceptional. If we're being really honest,
this was the best match of the weekend.
Yeah,
easily, because this, like, the callbacks to other matches.
This was a match that should have been on SummerSlam. Like, it was that good.
It easily could have been, and it would have stole the night there as well.
Yeah.
I love what, like, Walter called back to the people he's beaten before. So he did the slap that he did to beat Ciampa.
Yes.
The way he beat Tyler Bate, the way he beat Pete Dunne. Callbacks to all of those.
Do you know what I also really like about Walter character-wise? Is Walter is essentially what they wanted Vladimir Kozlov to be years ago, and they could never quite do it with Kozlov back in the day.
Yeah.
But for some reason with Walter it works, and
because Walter is just that, and he's done it on the indies and stuff like that. He's always been that.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have to try and make him into that sort of thing.
That's true. But also it does make me think every time I see him, they need to somehow get him to America. Somehow.
I think you could do it in stints. I think you could do, he comes over for a storyline.
Yeah.
And you have him part-time on NXT.
Yeah.
Proper. And then you let him go and do indie stuff.
Yeah,
back
for
in
sure.
Europe.
Because you
do not want to lose Walter on
because
your
this is
brand.
the thing, like, he's that good.
Unless he's actually agreed to come over to US NXT.
Can you imagine?
And they're going to build around him.
Yeah, can you imagine? That would be crazy.
I do imagine that would be sick.
I really hope that we see more of Walter, because at the end of the day, he is just that good. Like, he really is that good, and
like this is a guy you have dream matches with. Like, I was like, man, him versus Reigns, him versus Lesnar, him versus Cesaro. Like, you just put him against, like, one I was thinking of the entire time is like, man, I would have killed to see him versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, wow.
That would have been such a sick match.
But hey ho, him and Ilya stole the night.
They stole the weekend.
However,
they've stolen half the year.
However, we did have some other very good matches on this.
We did, but I'm still not over that he tapped out Walter.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to be over that, to be honest. It'd be cool if he's the only person to ever tap out Walter.
Yeah,
I don't know if he tapped out on the indies and stuff like that, but in WWE at least.
Yeah, within WWE canon, that would be pretty cool.
We had the Undisputed finale. We had Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole, and again, very, very good video package hyping up this match. He did a very good job, even though I feel like it was very obvious which way it was going.
Of course, to anyone who knew, right? Yeah. To anybody who knew the situation, and most people who watch NXT are the people who know the situation.
Generally,
There's no way that Adam Cole was winning this match.
No, and he didn't. He won the second fall, which was where the bulk of the match was. The first fall went like 5 minutes, and Kyle O'Reilly got a roll
this
up.
was actually my issue. I think this match was paced wrong. I love the match, but I think for me, I always prefer these 3 full matches when they actually get quicker as they go on, rather than having the middle part be the bulk. It to me, in my head, it just throws the pacing off, and it makes it.
I would say the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you're doing a 2 out 3 falls match, you give it like half an hour.
Yeah.
It goes a distance sort of thing. But this, it was weirdly paced. The middle fall was like 10-15 minutes. The first and last ones were both like 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
So it just odd, but
the pacing just fell off with the match personally, but that doesn't take away from the quality of the match itself.
What I think is incredible is these, even though these two have been doing it against each other and with each other for 15 odd years.
Yeah.
It never feels like the chemistry's quite right.
No.
It always feels like it's a bit off with these two. Every other one of Adam Cole's opponents, where he's had fantastic matches with, it clicks. But this one never quite clicked in any of the 3 matches for me. They still put on very good matches.
Yeah.
So Kyle won the first fall because Adam Cole went for a Panama Sunrise and he just dropped down and rolled him up. And Adam Cole sold it. He was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah, yeah.
And it was great because Kyle can't straight go and attack again because they got separated for the next fall to start. Then they had a street fight, which is where most of the story happened. And this is where Kyle O'Reilly sold his rib injury very well.
Yeah.
Like when he first went down, I was like, is he actually?
Yeah, for a minute,
I did he's actually in pain.
For a minute, I did think.
And then, Kyle lost that one, that second pinfall.
Yeah.
And then the final one, it was a very quick one. It was supposed to be a steel cage, but Adam Cole took him out before the steel cage could come down fully.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite clever.
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
Gave him a little minute to rest as well.
Well, he got the shit beat out of him, but yeah. And then, when they get back in the ring, they have a little bit of an exchange. Adam Cole hits Panama Sunrise off the top of the ropes while trying to go for, trying to exit the cage. And then he turns out he's got some handcuffs and he ties Kyle O'Reilly to the rope, beats him up a little bit. Could have just won the match.
Yeah.
But instead he tries to go for one last super kick. Kyle O'Reilly catches him, puts him in a heel hook and knee bar, and Adam Cole sells it like he was ripping his fucking leg off.
Yeah, I know.
Which I love. And Adam Cole taps out. He lost because of his hubris again. And
let's be real, I feel like this is the last we see of Adam Cole in any WWE product.
Yeah. I do think that because the Bucks are heavily teasing seances and they're dressed up as Ghostbusters. Yeah. For those who didn't know, on Being the Elite, they killed him. He died.
Yeah.
So
Adam Cole in their canon is dead, so they're gonna bring him back to life.
Which would be very interesting.
And the weird thing with Adam Cole,
if they win the trios titles.
And the weird thing with Adam Cole is he could turn up on AEW as soon as Wednesday, it sounds like, because he has no non-compete clause.
Yeah, he literally could because his agreed extra time is done.
Yeah.
This was it. And it doesn't sound like I hope to God that it doesn't leak.
Yeah, I know.
If he's going there, I hope it doesn't leak. If he's going to the main roster, I hope it doesn't leak. I just want him to turn up because this was the other match I was talking about where fans really didn't like the Kyle O'Reilly won.
No.
The fans are fully behind Adam Cole.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the extent that when Kyle O'Reilly won, the fans screamed bullshit. Literally, they were chanting bullshit.
I know, but I also can't. So I get that
because they're just not behind
Adam
Kyle
Cole,
O'Reilly.
But this is what I was trying to figure out though. Is like O'Reilly is a good wrestler and people like him as a wrestler. So why are they not behind him?
Because Adam Cole, people love like he said, he's a once in a lifetime superstar, and people love him like that. He is special. Kyle O'Reilly doesn't feel special. He's fantastic in the ring,
Yeah.
Everywhere else, he's not quite as good. He's
Yeah,
got better
that's
on the
true.
microphone, I think, recently.
Yeah,
Because I still
definitely.
remember that shit with Pete Dunne, where he like put on the British accent. I was like, oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
But even in like a couple of months, he's already better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
definitely.
being on his own, and like properly on his own, because by Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
I really hope that he either turns heel, because I think
Yeah.
he's really entertaining as a heel, and it suits him because small guy, hard hitting. A lot of the stuff he can do and has done,
Yeah,
just works better as a heel. And it does kind of seem like this face run isn't quite working.
yeah.
Especially, to be fair, it might not be working because it's against Adam Cole.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was against
And
anybody else, I wonder.
maybe, yeah. Because I mean, we've seen it against Finn Balor, right? It worked.
Yeah. And
because
you
it was
know,
an
right?
awesome match.
Do you know someone I would like to see him go against if they do keep him face? Is LA Knight.
Sure. Maybe.
I think that could be an interesting dynamic between those two. I think.
I would watch interesting dynamic.
But you know,
interestingly,
go on.
Do you know where these stipulations came from?
No, I don't.
I believe it was a Triple H Steve Austin match. I
Okay.
believe it's a callback to the final part of their trilogy, because they had a 2 out of 3 falls.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
and it's Triple H's. It was Triple H's idea, from the sounds of it, to have this callback because NXT is changing with or without him, even though he's still in charge of NXT and will be.
Mm-hmm.
Mandatory changes coming.
Yeah, because there is actually a Nick Khan interview, which somehow BC Swart got a Nick Khan interview.
Yeah.
He
said he wanted SmackDown to be 8 hours long.
Yeah. Which is that. Do you know what? It's funny because the more I think about Nick Khan, Cultaholic have actually said it themselves. He's in this weird position because he's only doing his job, but by doing his job and doing it well, he will always be the bad guy to the fans.
Yeah. Even though really Vince should be the bad guy, because he's the one that brought him in to do the job he is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is exactly what he fired the last two, because he just told them to fuck off because they didn't agree with him.
What they were doing, right?
And they didn't agree on with things. Him.
Yeah.
They were against hoarding talent. They were against getting rid of the network. They were against putting NXT on TV.
It seems like Nick Khan is against hoarding talent, to be fair. He's released half the roster, which has resulted in the video game being delayed, which potentially in that field results in 2K not even making their video games in the future.
I mean, which, depending on how this next one releases, might be a good idea. Might be a good thing. Give it to 2K again. THQ again. That'd be funny.
If THQ Nordic somehow get that into their catalog, oh my god,
it'd be terrible because they don't make
anyway, we do have another match to do.
We have our final match, and once again, fantastic promo package. NXT champion Carrion Cross versus Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
And this was disappointing.
Yeah, it was.
Because of Carrion Cross.
Was it Cross or was it Joe? I couldn't figure this out while I was watching it.
I was watching it, and Cross just does not sell.
Yeah.
Cross. So he's lost so much by not having Scarlett with him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
He's lost so much for the main roster stuff. He just seems ordinary now.
Yeah, that's
so character-wise, he's lost so much. In the ring, I don't think he's progressed enough.
Okay.
Because he takes what move was it? He takes
Uranagi.
Yeah, thank you. He takes the Uranagi. And he just sells it horrendously.
Yeah.
He just kind of he puts a foot on the ground and then he just lies down sort of thing.
See, the reason I wasn't sure which one of them it was.
Joe is rusty.
Is because Joe's rusty, but that is forgivable. Mm-hmm. But he also looks unfit. Like Joe looks unfit by Joe's standards.
I mean, yeah, he is older. He has got his injuries. While Samoa Joe did win with the Muscle Buster.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was cool.
I think it was just the wrong two to have against each other.
Yeah.
This is the first time Joe's back in the ring in a while. And I probably think
he almost needed one or two more before this, right?
So I believe that was the plan.
Interesting.
But they've hot-shotted Cross to the main roster. So they've had to just speed shit up. Yeah. This was probably the plan for like WrestleMania week.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Maybe.
I reckon they were going to build this up and make it big, but they've had to rush through it because they're getting screwed over again. Mm-hmm. The combination of Joe not being in the ring in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Carrion Cross not really being where he should be.
And also losing his character luster because of what they've done.
I still think this was a good match on the whole. It's the weakest match. It wasn't
as good as it could have been, right?
No. It's the weakest match of the night. I do think this is subject to circumstances, though.
Yeah.
I think the right person won. I think the right person won. So. I think Joe was the right person.
Joe is the first ever 3-time NXT champion, of course.
Yep. Which he deserves because he got screwed over on the main roster. Yeah, he should have beat Brock Lesnar.
And it also seems like maybe they're building this new NXT around him, given that he's literally just become the champion. He is one of the, in terms of his image, he is the type of wrestler that Vince likes, right? He's a big guy. He's not necessarily, I think one of them described it as vanilla boys, and it's like, that's not what Joe is.
I don't necessarily know that Vince is all that big of a fan of him. Otherwise, he would have put the title on him on the main roster. If he was that big of a fan of him, I think Triple H is a massive fan of him, which we know.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is probably more Triple H's call.
Joe literally got brought back to the company because of Triple H, right?
It was literally by Triple H. He gave him a phone call. I think as the match went on,
I still would love to. Sorry, I would love to know about that situation, because how can one person in a company decide, yeah, we're getting rid of this person, but then the person who's actually in charge, technically, of hiring people brings them back almost immediately? Like,
because it was done without any input from Triple H.
I know, but it's dumb, right? Surely the person who's in charge of talent should be the one who decides who goes and stays.
Not necessarily. I really felt as this match went on, Joe did kind of start getting into it a bit more.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Look like himself a bit more, especially when he was hitting like the enziguri to the top ropes and getting into his signature stuff.
Yeah.
But Cross never really got into this match.
No, Cross
never really felt like he was ever going to win this.
Seemed like, and obviously I'm not in his head, but just from the way that I perceived the match, this probably wasn't the case, because I'm sure he's a great professional. But it
felt like Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania.
But it seemed like he had his mind on Raw already. Yeah. And that was kind of the...
To me, it felt like Brock Lesnar in his match against Goldberg at WrestleMania when they were both leaving. I can't remember which WrestleMania, but...
Yeah, for sure.
It just felt like he wasn't into this match. Which is a shame, because all the build has been very cool.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed the build.
Yeah.
Even the over the top, destroying the CWC.
Also, can I just mention a weird thing? Why is it that every single time I hear William Regal speak, I wish he could wrestle again?
William Regal is one of my favorites ever, and I think he's the single most underrated wrestler of all time. Like, he should have been world champion. He would have been a fantastic world champion.
Yeah, for sure.
They have.
So overall, how did you feel about this show then?
I think this was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, every match was great. And then even the issues between Joe and Cross.
Yeah.
In their, respective
it was
issues.
Still a good match.
It was still a very good match. They still told a very good story.
Yeah.
They played into the fact that Joe...
I mean, the fact that their weakest match was arguably still better than anything at SummerSlam.
I think this is
maybe
the only...
Edge and Rollins.
Yeah, I think this is the only match that isn't better than anything on that.
Yeah.
Maybe the Raquel match as well, but that was still very good. I think easily every single one of these matches here could replace the other matches on SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
and it would have been one of the best shows ever.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because it was just so strong all the way through. I think the only thing they were missing is some stupid comedy bits in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That was sarcasm.
Do you know what the funny thing is? These two shows have actually made me realize something, and I don't think either thing is a negative, but I think it's just a sign of where wrestling has gone over the years. Is there are now two very different wrestling crowds. There is the wrestling crowd that's in it for the entertainment aspect, which I think is what SummerSlam was trying to play into. And then there are the wrestling crowd that are still in it for the wrestling.
I mean,
and that's what NXT does very well. That's what AEW does very well, right?
I kind of agree, but SummerSlam did neither.
Yeah,
SummerSlam did neither. And the only thing this really says to me is that it just reinforces that Vince is an idiot and that the main roster is really the one that needs to shake up. Mm-hmm. It's really the one that needs to be reorganized, sorted out, because no one is happy with the product.
Well, I mean, I recommend that Nick Khan interview on BC Sport, because the fact that he turned around and said that, you know, they don't want to keep getting these wrestlers from the indies and they want to kind of get people who can be genuine superstars. There's a part of me in my head where I get what he means, because
I feel like it's going to be. I feel like it's been taken a bit out of context. I feel like people are expecting Garganos and people like that to just be thrown away.
I don't necessarily think they're going to be thrown away. Yeah,
I think we're going to see more like Baron Corbin, Velveteen Dream, people like that. They're actually building themselves.
Yeah,
they're not picking so many people.
And I think like that was always the original plan with NXT, right? And
I mean, you go back to NXT when it, first got started, and you had a couple of indie guys.
But
you had, like, Sami Zayn.
But it's weird. So this is what I mean. This is why I actually said to you the other week, I'm not that apprehensive about the NXT shakeup thing, because I think it could be positive.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be. It is just the way that Vince phrased it. No more midgets.
Yeah.
No more people over 30. Both of them are stupid.
I know.
Things to say.
But also the other thing is, I don't have a problem with them finding, former MMA stars or former American footballers and making them into great wrestlers, because it does work.
Look, Ken Shamrock.
However, at the same time, I don't want them to go back to the company that goes, we're not going to sign anyone who isn't a star made by us, because at the end of the day,
you need both. It needs to balance.
Yeah, they need the balance.
I mean, look at Adam Cole.
Look at how many years they didn't have AJ Styles just because they had to stick up their ass about getting people who were from other companies.
That's not quite true.
Yeah,
they tried to sign him on a number of occasions, and AJ always turned him down.
Okay, I mean, I know they tried to sign him once very early on, and he went to TNA instead. I didn't realize that they tried to sign him after that.
Yeah, they talked to him a few times, and he just, it was always when he was like in the middle of a contract sort of thing.
Interesting.
From what he said in like interviews and stuff like that I remember. I might be misquoting that, but it needs to be a balance. I think what this really means is that they're going to go back to getting, like, when they brought in Seth Rollins, he wasn't widely known. They're not they don't want to be a super indie anymore, which fine, but I
that has negatives and positives.
Yeah, because it has drawing power and you're getting in names that can do it. So I think it's just going to balance out a bit more.
For sure. Because
I mean, how many people on the NXT roster are actually WWE guys?
That's true. But this is what I mean. This is why I say it could be a positive thing. Because on the other hand, if they are building these stars themselves, and if these people, you think of somebody like Bianca Belair, right? Just got buried at SummerSlam, but she is somebody even from NXT that they built themselves. She had no history in the industry at all.
No, absolutely. Same with Alexa Bliss. Just looking at their champions: Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, WWE guys; Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, WWE. Even though Becky Lynch did do some indies before, it was like small indies over in the UK here.
Yeah, for sure.
Nakamura, New Japan; Damian Priest, indies; Riddle, Randy Orton, half indie, half WWE; Usos, WWE. Even though I really want to see them in AEW, I want to see them versus the Bucks.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Natalia, Tamina, WWE; Reggie, technically WWE because he was like a circus performer.
He was
before.
in the circus, yeah.
Samoa Joe, not. Raquel Gonzalez was. Swerve, no. Kushida, no. MSK, no. Io Shirai, yeah, no. Zoe Stark, I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Cameron Grimes, no. So on the main roster, it's quite 50-50 in fairness. But NXT is pretty much fully.
The majority of their roster
indie.
is indie in some way, right?
Yeah.
On NXT, and that's kind of the problem, is it doesn't have the balance necessarily.
Yeah, they want more of their own guys. Like Danny Burch is WWE, even though he's done some indies. He's
done
WWE.
indies, but he isn't known for indies. That's the difference, right?
Well, he did indies, but he came from WWE, didn't he? I think he came. I think so. I don't know if he was fully indie before. I know. Oh damn it! What's his partner called? Only Lorcan. Was he was indies, but otherwise everybody else.
But yeah, it's weird because with the NXT situation, I'm just more intrigued personally to see.
You can't judge it before it's happened. We can judge it based on what has been said, and I think the midget thing has really pissed off a lot of people because Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels, people like this are considered small, even if Shawn Michaels is 6'1".
But I also think, but it's a context thing, right? Like from what I know, Vince said that to shareholders, and I highly doubt that a majority of their shareholders actually know anything about wrestling. So he was probably saying it like if he was
neither
saying
do the network, but it pissed the network off.
Yeah.
Because USA are, I don't know how happy they are with NXT at the moment because it's not doing big numbers because it never should have been taken
happy enough though, because they're not very happy about the sounds of it not being live anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the major
and
things.
They weren't happy with the sounds of the changes either because NXT's most popular stars are Adam Cole.
I think it's also, I also think though that in the case of NXT, things are a little bit different where when they do make mistakes or when they make decisions that don't pan out, they are very quick to change them. And they don't do that with the main roster so much. But I think that if they do these changes to NXT and in like 2 months' time they're not working, they will just change it back again, I would assume.
Sure.
So I think it's just, wait and see what happens. But
yeah, it's a difficult one as well because it does also take Vince and co booking them correctly and not just fucking them up.
For sure.
Because this is a lot of the reason indie people started coming in. It's because the people that were coming through WWE weren't good enough.
Yeah, definitely.
They were treated as such.
Definitely. But I think, like you said, to a certain degree, it's been taken out of context a little bit because I think that everybody initially thought, oh, that means they're going to get rid of everyone else. And that's not what they're going to do.
No, and I think, ironically, if you look back at some of their biggest stars like Taker, Guerrero, Austin, Kurt Angle is the only one of that ilk that was just WWE. And even then,
The Rock.
He's a TNA guy. Sure, yeah, Rock, yeah. Steve Austin was WCW and ECW. Taker was WCW.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero was obviously WCW and ECW. Yeah. Triple H was WCW.
Yeah.
Like all Hardy.
But also back in the day was a very different time, right? They've had this WWE had this weird period where for a long while everybody that was a star was someone they built, for the most part. You had like Cena, they built themselves.
Sure.
And there were a few others around that kind of time. Bobby Lashley to a degree, although he wasn't a massive star first time around.
So Bobby Lashley was built by WWE, but he made himself better on the indies and
Yeah,
in TNA and stuff like that.
for sure.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No.
Like if WWE would just fucking work with other people,
Yeah.
It could do them the world of good. They're too stuck up.
It's I'm intrigued to see the future of NXT, and we will be here to cover it, of course, for as long as it lasts. It sounds like these changes will be happening within the next couple of weeks, based on Nick Khan's interview anyway. It sounds like within a week or two we'll be seeing these changes. And I'm intrigued because what I actually think could be quite interesting, and this is one of the possibilities I've been thinking of, is I wonder whether it actually means that some of the main roster people who aren't being used are going to be sent to NXT as let's use these people to help the people that we're going to train up.
100%.
Because that could, I think of something.
I mean, that's what it was. Like Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
Jinder Mahal was used as that when NXT first turned into what we know.
Yeah.
As NXT.
So that, for me, that could be a positive thing. And you mentioned Cesaro there. We've actually seen Cesaro on NXT in the past.
Times, yeah.
In what I would argue, in particular, there was
Regal.
one match. Yeah, but
versus Sami Zayn.
The Sami Zayn one was my God.
I mean, the Regal one was phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
Regal went over. So,
for sure. So I'm not as apprehensive as some. I think I'm more let's wait and see.
I think the apprehension comes from
the way it was phrased.
Well, but it's also the main roster is fucking dreadful at the moment.
Yeah.
And these people want to get their mitts on NXT.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a 50-50. I can completely see why people are unhappy.
Oh, I can. Don't get me wrong. I can.
And it does feel like Triple H is trying to be pushed out of the company entirely, let alone.
However, him being pushed out might not be a bad thing if it leads to something else. So...
If it leads to him, Regal, Michaels, and that whole team making
doing
a super indie of their own somewhere else, I will die. Because I'm dreaming of that. Ever since this whole thing started, it's like Civil War.
It is weird because over the last month or so, I have started to seriously consider what would wrestling look like if WWE eventually dies, because they've been the biggest for so long, right? What will it look like if a day comes where they're not the biggest anymore, where they go so far down this weird rabbit hole that they're going down?
It would take a very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
It would take a very long, maybe 10, 15 years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because WWE was a thing before WCW was.
Yeah, because the thing is as well, their namesake will keep them going at that level for so long, even if the product's terrible, right? Even if the product's terrible, they will be the biggest for a certain period of time because they are the biggest name that even wrestling fans don't know. Like it's one of those things where if you don't watch wrestling if you're a wrestling fan but you haven't watched wrestling for 10 years, you still know who WWE is. If you haven't watched wrestling,
and people at the top of the card.
If you haven't watched wrestling for 10 years though, you probably don't know who AEW is right now. And it's
sure, yeah, but they're quickly getting people's attention with CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Moxley.
Oh, for sure.
CM Punk in particular.
So, and it's the weird thing because it's still very early stages of AEW, of course.
Yes.
But with the changing of NXT, with the potential changing of management within WWE in terms of certain people being forced out, I feel like maybe WWE are in a bit more danger than they've been in a very long time.
I think time's changing. Like I said before, it's WWE versus everyone else.
Yeah, and we've never really had that, right?
All it takes is Ring of Honor to go, yeah, we'll team with AEW.
And then it's
And
literally
then that's
everyone
literally
else.
every major promotion in the world.
And when you add them
together.
all together, they are pretty big, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's the iPhone Android thing. There are more Android devices out there.
yeah, but iPhone is the name. iPhone has the name value and the shininess, but there are more Androids. So yeah,
And
that's actually pretty good.
It's
comparison.
it's evened out. It has evened out. It's not iPhone is up here anymore, and Android is meh. Even though people might still think that. I have an iPhone now, so I can speak to this.
Yeah,
very even.
Very even.
I think that's what's going to happen because it is everywhere. Like Impact's been getting more viewers since all this is happening.
Well, I'll be honest.
It'll be the same for
the
them.
AEW stuff made me watch Impact again. Like I actually bought Slammiversary to watch it.
I always pay attention to what they're doing and like what go through the results and that, but I don't have the time to sit and watch.
No, and I don't watch it in the same way that I watch AEW or NXT.
Yes.
But as I said, it made me buy a TNA pay-per-view for the first time in God knows how many years. So that was, they got some money out of me that they wouldn't have got otherwise if this wasn't happening.
They're just doing interesting things. Like Brian Myers just fought for the world title.
Yeah. The only
Kurt
thing,
Hawkins.
Do you know what? The only thing I actually wish for Impact is that they had bigger crowds. Like I wish, because the bigger crowd does add something to the product. I feel like
maybe,
but I'm sure I do think actually on the road
but look at NXT.
They'll get there again one day.
But look at NXT.
Yeah,
the crowd in NXT were 1,000 times louder than the SummerSlam crowd.
That's true. Well, let us know what you thought of NXT Takeover. And we will be covering NXT proper tomorrow as well.
Back to normal, kind of. We still have All Out, but it's almost back to normal pay-per-view. And then in like 3 months, we'll be back.
Let us know what did you think of Takeover. Go and check out our SummerSlam Power Hour as well, because we had an interesting, very long conversation about SummerSlam, and give us your thoughts on that. And also, why not give us some of your thoughts on where NXT is heading and what you think we might see over the next couple of weeks now that Samoa Joe is the champion once again and we have no Carrion Cross on NXT anymore. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the top of that card.
Assuming he doesn't just get put back there and released like Bronson Lee did. Bronson Reed.
Yeah, for sure. And with that being said, we will see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Ta-da.